We are back. That's right. The 4B's Bullish Bitcoin Banter and Bullshit brought to you by Mr. All In, aka the Trillion Dollar Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Son Look, aka the Excellence of Execution, and for regular listeners and viewers, Mrs. No Show is still no show. And that quota is getting down to around about 5% or less than a show, with Snell being at what, odd 171. So here we are.
He'll be back soon. Bitcoin's pumping yet again, nearly 80k pounds.
But it's not going to be a sum of trifle, though, is it?
Right off the bat, yeah.
Who knows?
We've got to go, haven't we? I listened back to the pod last week and I was like, fucking boring when I was up there, wasn't it?
You lowered the IQ.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've missed a lot of weeks. Your vacay.
Bitcoin magically goes back over 100k. Here he comes.
Here I come
back in with all like donut grease around his face. Can I come back on the pod?
Please, sir, can I join back in and interrupt you when you're rambling on about shit?
Whilst I've been away spending some sats.
It went Disneyland. Finger mouse.
I was going to say, I'm not the one lowering the IQ of the show now.
You lower mine just by being here.
As long as you don't talk about paddling pools and Toblerone. Right, should we talk about something which does lower everyone's IQ? The Financial Times.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Lovely segue. Thank you.
Does it start with a video as well?
It does.
Yeah, you're going to play the clip?
The video is gold, so let's just give them it and then we'll comment.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is not for the faint-hearted. With no obvious use case, it's an inherently speculative bet. Bitcoin maxis like Jeff and Michael Saylor believe in the value embedded in Bitcoin because of its scarcity. I still don't get this. My teeth are pretty scarce and pretty useful, but they're not worth billions of bucks. Still, for the believers, there's just no plausible way for Bitcoin to crash. Are you comfortable with so much of your personal wealth tied up in this one thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how strategy or Bitcoin are going to perform in the future. My track record here sucks, and I genuinely have no idea. But I would argue that no one else really truly has any idea either, which is why I get nervous for retail investors like Jeff.
Study Bitcoin.
There we go. They've seen it.
Right.
What your comments?
Oh gosh. First of all, what creature is Katie Martin? Like, the comments. I always go to the comments, and one of them stood out to me is, how can you look 5 and 50 at the same time?
That's so true.
But yeah, you're a journalist and you're talking about you still don't get Bitcoin after 7 years of covering the topic and don't understand what money is, specifically working for the Financial Times. Shocking.
Who's the Jeff who she's talking about? Is that Jeff Booth?
No, there's a random Jeff that they interview, as well as Michael Saylor.
It's like, but she talks about being worried about it, and she's saying there's no obvious use case, and it's a kind of big bet. And like Sir Neverlook said, you're kind of going, you don't understand money because you don't understand the whole thing about the barter trading. You work for Financial Times, and you haven't also almost 7 years or even longer, because if you're in that kind of arena, you will have been around money and you will have been around Bitcoin. So why haven't you actually read about what Bitcoin is and all its kind of like landmarks, and also you don't seem to understand the basic about economics as well. But this is someone who you pay to write to you about financial subjects.
Yeah.
So you know,
and
as a
over
reader,
a 7-year period, having seen it gone up so much, at some point, you know, you've got to think, maybe I need to invest a little bit more time into this.
What does she spend her time doing? That is my question. So you work a 40-hour job, maybe 50, 60, 70, whatever it is, because she loves her job. And her job, I'm guessing, is financial side, but the technological side of finance. What the fuck does she do each day if she's not researching?
It just came to me that, you know, like how you have TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome. I think a lot of people have BDS, where no matter what Bitcoin does, because they have basically a derangement syndrome against it, they're just immune. It's just, it bounces off, and anything negative sticks, and they just extrapolate it in their own mind and then just spurt out a load of nonsense. But anything positive just bounces off. They're just ingrained in their position now. And like you said, like she clearly doesn't understand the basics of money. You know, her example about her teeth is just hilarious, right? She literally goes, "Oh, according to Michael Saylor, the main reason why Bitcoin is valuable is because it's scarce. Well, my teeth are scarce and they're not worth billions." You just go, you've kind of misquoted him, because he doesn't just say scarcity, right? There's a number of other attributes that makes money, you know, the best form of money that we have. It needs to be transportable, it needs to be divisible.
Yeah.
So are your teeth any of those? Like, your teeth are scarce. Yes, I agree. There's only 30 of them in the world, or how many fucking teeth you got in your head. But nobody wants them. There's like no, like, you can't divide them. You can't send them as money. There's only 30. And what are you talking about? Like, oh my God, like, you work for the financial.
Imagine she turns up, say you're running a farm and you got some eggs, and she comes up and starts trying to pay with teeth and says they're scarce. I would say yes.
Beans.
Come back tomorrow, give me your other teeth. And so I've got all 30 of her teeth at the end of the day. I'd be like, brilliant. What do you want these for? Just to fuck with her.
Oh my God, that would be a great troll, actually. But like, you know what? I'll give you, like, yeah,
sell your teeth.
I'll buy your teeth off you, love.
The comments are great. Never listen to poor people's investment advice. Journalists are poor. Don't take investment advice from journalists. It's true. Like, this is so much I had to explain to my wife is, for independent financial advisors, why are you taking advice off someone who is clearly not that rich? And also, are they even investing in these funds? So it's like open question, like, are they rich? And if they are, well, find someone else. But not everyone else does this. They invest it in, like, unless you're going for someone like what's his name, Ray Dalio fund, which you're not getting in, it's probably not worth your while.
Yeah. But you know, like, I love this tweet, just to follow up from that one, because we talked about this last week. You know how, you know, Bitcoin podcasts, I'm not a massive fan of them anymore. I don't massively listen to them. I mean, having kids had something to do with it, and also just being in Bitcoin for so fucking long, it's almost like the same old, same old.
But there's been so much over the last few years when myself and Son Everlook went in, but I've grown a bit tired of them. Unless it's someone like Lynn Alden, I'm not really interested.
Yeah, so even you guys now are starting to become a bit immune to it. I think there's something about being in Bitcoin for about 3 or 4 years that's about the tipping point where you go, I've heard every talking point 100 times now. I probably don't need to hear 101. But then Pierre has a great tweet here, right? Without Bitcoin podcasts, you'd have to learn about Bitcoin from the Financial Times. And it's a good fucking point. So it suddenly went, you know what, I saw that tweet and went, it is worth still doing this. Because if people like us don't keep doing this and talking about Bitcoin in a balanced, but obviously we're bullish on Bitcoin, but in a balanced like way, and calling out shit like this, like, the only medium of learning about Bitcoin would be something like the Financial Times. And just imagine that we lived, say, I don't know, 50 years ago, and the Financial Times was the main source of investment resource because the internet didn't exist, that would be what people were being told about Bitcoin. So, of course, there would be probably barely any Bitcoiners because that would be the knowledge. So we live in a world now where we can share the relevant stories, the relevant takes on those stories and the relevant knowledge. So people can bypass, because clearly, this is the Financial Times. Like, Jesus, I used to see people on the train reading that going, but he's rich, checking his investments and trying to find the next one. There's gold in there. I used to have a look at it and go, I don't even know what I'm fucking reading. My granddad used to read it as well, actually, and I used to try and I couldn't even understand it. Talking about the FTSE and this S&P 500. I didn't know what any of these things were, but I'm like, oh, right. They just. But now, you just, after you've grown up and you've gone on your own journey, you just suddenly realize they're just a load of LARPing. They're pretending to know what they do. The real people that know about investing don't write articles about it. They're sat on a boat in the middle of Monaco.
And also, they're not going to deal with your £200 a month.
No.
Simple as, like I said, Ray Dalio, those are the people who actually know what they're doing, but they're not interested in you. They only invest for super rich.
Yeah, they just want you to buy a book.
A better description. Yeah, well, I like the book because he actually knows the subject, the history of money and everything else. But I think better description is grifting.
Yeah.
And as we know as well, people like Jeff Bezos, who else? Warren Buffett, they try to control the narrative through the media as well. Things like buying the Washington Post. So ultimately, we know that the truth isn't there. And I'm just sat here trying to think, okay, well, I can't off the top of my head right now, feel free to say, what financial sources, similar to a Financial Times, would you actually trust? Because Lynn is different because she doesn't have her own podcast. She typically talks about financial subjects that are on trend and on topic on other people's podcasts.
Sources is probably various people across Twitter, and that's probably the best which you'll get.
Yeah, that's what's happened in the modern world, isn't it? We don't trust an institution. We trust individuals, and it's only because they've earned our trust by giving good advice for a number of years, and then you suddenly go, you know what, this person's been right a number of times, and they're consistent. So you suddenly start going, okay, they're on board. But obviously, as we've seen in Bitcoin land, there's many people that build up that trust and then they lose it, and then they're in the bin. So I think that's what's healthy about the Bitcoin landscape, and probably the landscape we look to for financial advice, which is don't trust, verify. And you verify someone, but that verification isn't forever. You can fuck it up, and if you do fuck it up, you're done. You're in the bin, and then you pretty much never come out of the bin because it's your integrity is now, you've proven that you don't have integrity. You will take a quick win and essentially scam your audience if you think that's necessary for your own personal gain. So now it's just, it's individual people, isn't it? It's I suppose it's the influencer land, but the only person I really trust with financial advice is myself. I use many sources. I'll look at loads of things, but there's no one person that would ever make me do anything with money. It's a whole combination of things that would need to happen, and that's literally from right up from the political landscape all the way down to the technical inner workings of Bitcoin, and then everything that's in between. I need to have an overall feel for all of that to make me do a decision, whether it be buy or sell or move.
Think of a song coming into the space. Think about this. The person I think is probably the best one is the whiteboard. Is it Marco?
Yeah,
Marco Finance.
Whiteboard.
Because he's
really good.
He's a bit of a beginner's guide to finance in general. I was just thinking about a really good source for anyone to listen to. I think he's
Whiteboard Michael or something.
Marco. Yeah, so he's on YouTube.
He's a Bitcoiner and he talks about indexes.
and he used to work in finance as well. So he's like come out of finance. From what I understand, just does YouTube full time, and I've watched him for years, but he's gone along that journey, and I've had a couple of conversations with him as well via LinkedIn previously as well.
Anyway, enough talk about him.
Yeah, before we go on, actually, so I just threw in the into the chat hope.com and which is Michael Saylor's website, and it'd be good to kind of just, if you go through those names of people he lists as leaders and get your thoughts on those.
Fucking Robert fucking Breedlove.
Let's quickly share it.
Isn't Natalie Brunella another scammer as well? Or am I getting her mixed up? Nick Farter.
No, she just...
Man, this whiteboard guy, I can't believe you mentioned him. I ain't following him.
Looking through this list of Michael Saylor's
You've got
leaders.
Saifedean, haven't you? Saifedean and Saylor, just,
Yeah, but he's got like some right shit in here. He's got Cappy Wood. We've got Dan Held, shitcoin scammer, who's blocked me.
There we go. So Lynn is in. Safe is in. He's out. Andreas is out, right?
Yeah, the good thing is about the videos that will be linked there should be great. Oh, but yeah, I suppose naming him, he's a shitcoin. He went ETH, yeah. Plan B shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Adam Back is in.
Yeah, definitely.
Marty Ben.
Keep going. Marty Ben, yeah. Jeff, yeah.
Yeah. Jeff, VJ.
Yeah. Breedlove, no. Natalie Brunell, no. Farter, no. Heavily Armed Clown, no. Jack Dorsey, yeah. Don't know. Yazine, don't know. Alan Fountain,
no. Yeah, she is good, actually.
Is she?
Sorry, Alan Farrington. Alex Gladstein.
He's probably a spook, but go on. Giggy, yeah. Dan Held, fuck off. BlockFi. Max Kaiser, yeah. Don't know who Ratter is. Cratter.
No, I don't know either.
Parker Lewis, yeah.
Parker Lewis.
Livera,
yeah, I know who he is. He's quite young, isn't he? Caitlin, she's good.
Mike Malone. I think he's Bloomberg. No, he can go fuck himself. Samson, yeah. Preston, yeah. Pierre, yeah. Saylor, no. Valis, yeah. Cappy Wood, yeah. So it's a good list, actually. Yeah, it's a very good list.
It's a good list.
Like 5 or 6 knows.
He's got fucking Nick Farter in there.
Yeah, well, the problem is probably when he did this, he was really good, but then obviously he jumped the ship, hasn't he? So
he was a shitcoin scammer. Him and Dan Held were jacking each other off whilst trying to sell shitcoins to everyone.
Yeah, I forgot Dan Held even existed. Like, he blocked me 70 years ago.
But you've got to think, like most people, and again, this is, I guess, kind of the reasoning as to why we've got our podcast is there's so much noise out there, and it's so easy to listen to the mainstream, and majority of people would have probably only heard of Michael Saylor, and all the rest are, unless you're in the space, you're not coming across them.
Yeah, click one. What happens if you click one?
Okay, go straight to their Twitter.
No, it's just a Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
fine. I thought they might actually have just a selection of their best work or something. That would be even better.
Well, funnily enough, you say this actually because you just
like for Andreas, for example, the worst thing you can do with Andreas is link to his Twitter because he's now a shitcoin promoter, right? So with Andreas, the first thing I would do is I would link directly to his YouTube videos from 2012. They are gold, but linked to his stuff now is nonsense. The same with Nick Farter, nonsense. if you're going to link to him, like he did some great podcasts and he wrote some great articles around Bitcoin. You know, that's what got him the following that, and probably what used to be a deserved place on this list was his great articles. But
yeah,
this
these
needs
are good in terms of
he's got so many. How many
podcasts.
million have you got? Like, Jesus, give someone £1,000,000 to sort this website out. It's a little bit
I know it's
low effort.
crazy, isn't it?
It's a kind of
All of his,
website that, like, we could put together, right?
yeah,
You know, if you're going to spend some decent money, you actually go, right, all these influencers, all these leaders in Bitcoin, I hate, like, they're not leaders in Bitcoin. Like, no one leads Bitcoin. It's just, you can influence a little bit and you're just popular in Bitcoin, right? But spend the time to find the 10 best pieces of work each of those people have done. Like that would make that page super valuable then. So when you first send a newbie in there, they go, oh, I like the look of this person. Click. Here's 2 articles and 8 podcasts this person's on. There you go. You've done all the work for me. But
yeah,
because like obviously, like you just said, there's 6 people on that list. If people went and looked on their Twitter right now, Bitcoin wouldn't be mentioned. They're just shilling shitcoins now. Lazy.
right. Well,
lazy.
that was a little bit of a side piece, but let's get back to the normal business. So, Coinbase being extorted over a data hack, and this has led to the CEO Brian Armstrong coming out with a video. I don't know, is it online? Let's just retry that. Yeah, it's still there. So it's about just under 3 minutes long. So I don't know if you won't play that, but ultimately, data hack.
Yeah. Apparently, it's only less than 1% of Coinbase customers.
It wasn't a data hack when you think about it. They literally just had a customer. They managed to pay off some customer service reps. So I think hack always sounds like, oh, they've broken into their infrastructure, whereas reality, it's not. It's actually found the weakest link. Probably people have paid fuck all and often money. But it's a pretty hilarious response, isn't it? I don't know if our viewers or listeners will have watched Ransom back in the day. But Mel Gibson, he gets his his daughter kidnapped, and they want something like $1 million. So when money was worth a lot more back then in 2000, they wanted about $1 million, and he said, "I'm not paying it, but I'll pay $1 million to anyone who finds this person and kills them." And it just feels like Brian Armstrong's been watching it to G himself up.
Yeah, that's the thing. That a lot of hacks, obviously, like human engineering, humans are the weakest link in any business, right? So it makes sense that you can try and hack in from the outside, but of course, a company like Coinbase, any financial institution, all you got to do is throw money at the problem. You can have so many freaking firewalls and stuff. I mean, no one's getting through anywhere. So, but what you can do is just pay the people that have the password that can just log into that system, and you straight into the crown jewels, right?
So basically, just from what I gather, they're probably trying to pick off the VIPs, aren't
they? Yeah, I'd imagine. Who knows, right? Yeah, but I think that it seems to be that their plan literally was just extortion, which is we can damage your brand. We have a load of customer data, and obviously the people that claim they had all this data, they probably it's because also people on Twitter have seen the fallout of this, and apparently a lot of people are suddenly getting phone calls and emails that they think is related to this. So obviously they haven't got financial data, or obviously private keys, no funds were at risk, blah blah blah. But the classic names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses were. Now they're claiming it's less than 1% of customers. The amount of heat I've seen on Twitter, which admittedly, I still get spam calls every fucking day from the Ledger leak.
Yep.
Years.
It's from me. Taking a tea break, phone calling you. Hello, sir.
But yeah, so who knows? So it could be Coinbase playing it down. It could be Twitter playing it up.
Well, if you think most Twitter accounts are probably going to be some ballers in there, so I think it is targeted around the top accounts. So like people they know have bought a lot of Bitcoin, so probably be some kind of statistics which have got their hands on, or being able to see recent trades where there's been significant money or Bitcoin being moved around. So they wouldn't be picking up on someone who's been spending £100 every few months. It's going to be
equally
the
as
ballers.
well. There's a lot of people that still leave their coins on Coinbase as well. Instead of, as we've always said, taking them off the exchange. So we know that Coinbase will hold a lot of Bitcoin themselves as a business with an obviously order to sell from a liquidity perspective. But customers see Coinbase safer than, I remember colleagues that you still work with, got to even 10%, that said, oh yeah, I'd much rather leave it there than take it myself because I'd lose it.
Holy shit, hold on. This is worse than I thought. I didn't actually read the blog. But they've said we will reimburse customers who were tricked into sending funds to the attacker. Oh, so that's just from the details. Oh my God. Right. He wants to scam Coinbase.
Funnily enough,
a load of Bitcoin and then I say that you're the hacker and then get Coinbase to refund me.
Funny enough, I get quite a few Coinbase fake emails. You know how you get some random bank ones, and they look quite realistic. And I do get the Coinbase ones every so often. Yeah. So I do wonder if there's been some form of hack before where they've got my details off Coinbase, because I've never had ones for Kraken, Gemini, or any others. I get Coinbase and I get Ledger. And Ledger, is off the leak. So I know why I get that one. I never get phone calls though. But I do get emails which look really good sometimes, and sometimes absolutely disgraceful.
They did just get details. Yeah. But the thing is, obviously, like all those Coinbase, obviously Coinbase is the biggest exchange, right? So of course they just buy email addresses and just send them all. I've seen, I've gone into my relatives, and that when they've asked me to fix their computer and stuff, and I can see Coinbase freaking phishing emails in there, and they don't even know what Coinbase is. So that it's just
okay.
The one, it's like when I've had phishing emails for was it JP Morgan or Chase Bank, and they're just guessing. They just send it to every email address that it'll just be some hack from a various company. They've got your name and email, and then they just go through every single company and just see what hits.
Do you think does this follow on to the Ledger story? Because we got this one which is quite interesting, but there's also quite an interesting one about Ledger.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to follow this on with Ledger because we started talking about the leaks, and what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, there was a Ledger leak where names, addresses, emails, phone numbers went out. And I think all three of us have had emails, and you've had phone calls off Ledger or supposed Ledger about your details being at risk. But this is taking it up to a whole new level. And it's actually a bit clever for a scam, isn't it? Because they're targeting certain people. But imagine if they're targeting someone like me who bought, I don't know, fuck all Bitcoin back in the day and bought a Ledger for some reason, which you didn't really understand at the time.
Yeah, this is terrifying, isn't it? So they essentially, this scammer, I refuse to believe that he was sent this ledger completely cold. I have a feeling he must have accepted a phone call and fallen for it in some shape or form, which gave them confidence to then go send him the fake ledger. So they send him a ledger which they claim, obviously this is the hacker, that it's a replacement ledger, that it will protect them because their funds are currently being compromised. So unfortunately, he believes the letter. He believes that Ledger will just send him this device out of the blue. Obviously, the ledgers, they're expensive devices. You guys got to think, this can use your brain. Like, this would bankrupt Ledger if they just sent out a free ledger to a huge amount of customers that were affected during that hack, which was pretty much everybody. So they've said it's a replacement. And
Well, the thing is, he could have gone on the website and phoned them.
and there's so many things you could.
But
Yeah.
what I'll say here is, on this thread, it actually tells you he has NFTs which were stolen. So
Yeah.
he deserves this. He deserves it. Fuck
He
him.
deserves it.
Yeah, he's already like that proves he's retarded as well. And obviously, whenever you get a replacement device, because let's just say this happened. Ledger's devices are compromised. They send you a new one. What they would say is set this device up, set yourself a new 24 words, and then quickly send the funds from the old device to the new one. Get it to the solid device. They would never say put in your original 24 words, because then it's still compromised, right? It's still in the same place. If it was at risk on the old device,
Yeah.
it's still at
He's just
risk on the new
creating a
one.
new. He's just creating a new key to access it, isn't
Yeah, it's still at risk. That old device has access to those keys. You've just
he?
created a
But
device.
we're talking about a person who had NFTs and So, like, you're trying to appeal to his intelligence, but he clearly has none because he thinks JPEGs hold value.
Yeah. So he typed in his 24 words into this brand new device that's come through, which clearly had been edited. It wasn't a new ledger. It had been severely changed. So
and it's also within minutes his wallet was emptied. So when I'm loading up a new ledger, well, not ledger because I don't use ledger anymore, I put on some and then I transfer more. So like I always transfer a little bit and make sure it hits. But it seems like there's an automatic forward for all the funds there, so you would have picked that up if you'd actually just tested it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's actually where the test actually does not only test that your address was right, but also test whether there's an auto sweep of any Bitcoin landing in an address that instantly gets sent out to the scammer's address. Yeah. So
I think you were going to say as well, there is an authenticity check with Ledger when you get a new Ledger as well.
what you mean the stickers on the packaging?
No, in the actual dashboard of the Ledger Live. So you can, yeah. So
didn't even know that was there.
I know that, yeah. So yeah. There's in the dashboard you can check. And I guess even that, again, even after they've gone through the whole rigmarole of sending it, you could also do that.
Yeah. And who knows? I don't think, did any of you read like how much he lost or whether it was everything or not? I can't see it.
I think he's a dickhead who stored everything on one ledger, so I think it's everything.
Ooh.
Yeah, rip. It is scary. This is the problem, right? When you tell people to be your own bank. This guy is a classic example of you ain't ready, leave it on Coinbase. It's probably safer.
Yeah.
Because he's taken custody. He's probably spent 100 quid. Doesn't really know what his ledger does. And he's taken a phone call. Got suckered in. And it's just been sent a random ledger in the post. And he's typed the 24 words into it. What can you do? Like you never type your 24 words in to any device that you didn't buy yourself. Someone gives you one, sends you one. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone through the whole restore, hasn't he? That's what's happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, they've sent him a device that
they've sent him a device, and
amended code on it that the second any Bitcoin hits any wallet that is fired up, just empties it.
Yeah.
Because essentially, the second these 24 words were entered, I can almost guarantee that device would have sent that via the internet straight away into a bot that fired up a wallet, put those 24 words in, and emptied the wallet, every single coin attached to it, and just sent it to the scammer's address. And then from there, it probably gone to dozens of other wallets through mixers, the whole lot, and good luck finding it. So it is sad, but unfortunately it's going to just happen more and more and more. But we either have to take the L's, and people just need to learn the harsh lesson about these things. It's sad, but obviously people lose their life savings in banks when they go under. Yeah, and that happens to millions of people at one go, and to a certain extent, it's not even their fault. In these instances, we can protect ourselves. Have multiple devices, split your Bitcoin up, and just be on very, 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 very high alert. Because let's be honest, right? All you have to do, if Ledger genuinely had a hardware security risk that was so severe they were sending out little devices to all their users, go on Twitter and have a look. It'll be all over there. If there's no mention of it, probably a load of shit. Right, what's the odds on you just having a random device that's been compromised? Come on. Come on.
Should we go on to a humorous one now? Well, I don't know if it's humorous. I find it frustrating. I also do question why we got this story in here. Dave Portnoy. It's a brief video, isn't it, as well? So is it a click moment?
Oh, no, I don't want to even do it. No. Like you said, it's only a joke story. I think I put it in there when the agenda was a bit light.
I mean, it's when Michael Saylor's been round your house to explain Bitcoin to you, but you still don't understand price unit bias, nor do you understand the basics about Bitcoin. So you decide to go in for XRP because you missed out on buying a flat in Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, if anything, this is just tracking like the journey of Dave Portnoy. And
he's also done it twice, hasn't he? Where he's messed up, like he sold on a dip or something.
Yeah, that's why we call him salad hands now. And then he seemed to suddenly get it. He suddenly seemed to go, oh, I keep going to these shit coins and I get wrecked, and Bitcoin's now at 100K, and I think he bought it 50K and sold it 30. And then the next month we were at 100, and he's like, what the fuck's going on with this Bitcoin thing? And he suddenly went, right, I'm just going to buy a couple of £1 million or dollars worth of Bitcoin and just hold it for the long term. And that was largely, I think, the last he'd said about Bitcoin. And then he pops up here on CoinDesk, which I don't know why he's at Consensus 2025, but clearly he's just got an invite from previous years. And yeah, he starts talking about the fact that XRP is $2 and maybe that could be the next Bitcoin, which therefore means, it could go to 100K. And you just go, David, come on, you're CEO of a big company. You're clearly got some level of intelligence.
I don't know
not know what a market cap is. Like he knows what market caps is when it is relevant to companies and the number of shares. You do the number of shares times by the price of the shares, and that's how you get a market cap. So if a share is $2 and another one is $200, it doesn't mean the $2 is cheap. You have to look at the number of shares that are in the market. And that's the same with Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin's $100,000 and XRP is $2, but there's 21 million Bitcoin and there's hundreds and hundreds of billions worth of XRP. So when you do the maths, like bizarrely, the market caps aren't hugely different. So for XRP to flippen Bitcoin, I think it only needs to hit like $20 and it would already flip it. So that is XRP's 100K is $20. So that's what you're hoping for. You're hoping for $20. Is that exciting now? Because the thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars is completely off the table. And the fact that he doesn't know that is so disappointing. But it's probably the last time I ever put him on the agenda, because the fact that he's shilling XRP in 2025.
It's impressive, isn't it?
It's impressive how retarded you can be. Yeah. All right, let's get on to get some Bitcoin adoption. Steak and Shake.
Just before that, sorry. I was just catching up on something. I saw something around the court case for Ripple, obviously not going the way that they wanted it to. So maybe it is going to be the death of Ripple once and for all.
I thought
I
Ripple
don't
died
follow
about
it,
5
so I
years
just
ago.
thought, yeah.
Who knows?
We've had it 2 weeks in a row, haven't we?
Aren't they? You know, they were freaking. We covered them last week when we uncovered the fact they paid 40 million quid to be in the what is it, the shitcoin, the strategic shitcoin reserve. So they got crazy marketing from that, which pumped them from, I think, 50 cents to $2. So it's annoying. It's really annoying. And I think the one thing Ripple is world class at is paying a load of grifters and rent seekers to just shill it on social media and pretend it's the best thing since sliced bread. And they do it so often, and they're very clever at where they do it. They do it in, I think, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You see them in the comments all over, just generic financial type tweets. You'll see XRP people in the comments. They're trying to get the uninformed person that is looking for investment, that doesn't really know what they're doing yet, to buy then. And it worked really, really well the first time. Because XRP at $2, for example, that's nuts to me. Because I remember when that was like less than a cent.
Hmm.
Yeah, that
So
was
those were the gains back then.
Yeah, all the gains are gone now. Yeah, all the people that run it are billionaires. If anything, I'm amazed that the people that ran it, they are so rich now. I don't know why they're still pushing it. I don't know why they don't just dump all their bags, close it all down, and just fuck off. Because
Or
they
just
have
sell it to
tens of
someone.
billions.
Just sell it to someone, be like, I'm done with this shit. That game over. So basically, what we're saying is NFTs are out, and then XRP is out, and NFTs are back in.
That's what you think the summary of that conversation is. Okay.
That's
All right, let's get on to Lightning. Let's get off shitcoins because it's a diversion. So we got was it Stake and Shake? They now accept Bitcoin, and we have a receipt here, which as you can see in here, it has amount paid 20,078 sats. Fiat amount is $20.78. And so they paid for their Stake and Shake with Bitcoin. Buy Lightning, which, according to all the haters, Lightning doesn't work. Fucking does, bro. Because look, you paid $20 here. It happened instantly at the till. No 10 to 20 minutes of waiting. See, payment method, Lightning. So here we are. And oh no, that's the next story. I thought it was another one relevant to it, but yeah, here we are. So it's one of them, right? Where it's actually quite bizarre that they've even done this, right? Because it's essentially, obviously, Steak and Shake. I never even heard of what they did. I think they're basically a fast food restaurant, McDonald's type, right? But yeah, here they are. Like, this is your payment options. It's not El Salvador. This is in America, and yeah, you can just pay for your food with Bitcoin, which a lot of people have been talking about. A big reason why Bitcoin can't just be a store of value. It does need to be money. You do need to be able to buy things with money. There's no point just stacking loads of Bitcoin, like stacking a load of gold in your safe or something. You need to be able to spend it. You need to be able to transact with it, and which I'm totally on board with. I completely agree. We do need to do both. It needs to be store of value, but also needs to be integrated into the financial system and be able to be exchanged for goods and services. So the more we do this, the better. I still think we're in that kind of curve of it needs to be a store of value first. It needs to really establish itself there. So this is.
I was going to say that. I still feel like there's more time. Yeah, there's more time, but equally the rails to be able to do stuff like this need to be built. So then the masses, when they finally adopt it, just see it as super simple. So essentially, the likes of Coinbase and whoever, in terms of an exchange, becomes the equivalent of a bank, and you're given a card like your normal debit card or a wallet on your phone, and you use your Sats or your Bitcoin just like you do now, tap and pay, chip and pin, boom, and it just takes it off your stack.
Preach.
I think,
Super simple. Yeah.
I think Dr. Evil, you could do a couple of bit of moonlighting. Wouldn't even have to spend any stats.
That's having a good read on the Steak and Shake website. They're transitioning away from CDOs as well. They really are following a Bitcoin evolution. What's the story with them taking Bitcoin transactions? Is it a bit of a marketing ploy, or is this CEO of Bitcoin, or what?
I don't know. It sounds like the CEO of the company sounds like he's pretty based, and he's probably gone down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and gone, "Fuck it, I want to accept Bitcoin. I want to get CDOs out."
Yeah, our fries, onion rings, and chicken tenders are now cooked in 100% beef tallow in our restaurants.
Yeah.
We're moving towards butter for the steak burgers. It's just like, why isn't one of these in the UK?
There you go. Yeah, it all sounds. Look, the whole thing could be marketing, but at the end of the day, accepting Bitcoin, even if it is a marketing ploy, it's fantastic for us.
I was going to say,
For
yeah,
the people that are hitting that point where they're getting out, and we know that the financial restrictions on our fiat money are just coming down, right? We haven't got any stories this week on the fiat world, but nearly every week we've just got more and more regulation, restrictions on what you can and can't do with your money. So when all that gets ridiculous, right? You send out the wrong tweet, you put the wrong Facebook update on somewhere or whatever, you say the wrong thing, you can have your financial assets frozen and you're out the game. But they can't freeze your Bitcoin. So the more places that can accept Bitcoin, it helps the people that are getting frozen out of society. You can just keep going. Kind of beautiful because Bitcoin is outside of their control. So I can fire up a million Lightning wallets that they do not know about, and I can go and buy a Steak and Shake. So even if all my bank accounts are frozen and all my assets are frozen.
And because you've been sending mean tweets.
Yeah. Did you see actually that it's literally today? I saw it just before we started this pod that the mum in the UK that had tweeted like burn down the.
Wasn't it a politician's wife or something?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I think she's just a random housewife. But she got sentenced to 3 years in prison or 2.5 years in prison for basically tweeting something about, "Oh, burn all the hotels down that the immigrants live in for all I care." Because it's another story come out about one of them like attacking someone. But basically, she's appealed it because she's in prison for 2.5 years for a tweet that didn't even say it wasn't inciting violence in my mind. It just said burn them down for all I care. It's not like an action of I'm going to go burn them down. And she didn't go anywhere near burning them down. But just a tweet about burning them down. She's appealed it, got rejected. So she's going to do the full 2.5 years in prison. I think she's a mum of 4 or something. Anyway, diversion. But that's the kind of thing that's the kind of world we're living in, right? Where we tweet the wrong thing. And I really hope I never get put in a cage for a tweet I do. I must admit, I probably need to go back and delete all my tweets or something just to like fucking clear the deck. Because there's probably some in there that do me some decent jail time. If that woman's getting 2.5 years for that, I've probably got a 40-year sentence coming my way.
You've got a life sentence, let's be honest.
Probably 500 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's important to get like you said, the rails all constructed to make Bitcoin just flow from business to business and from consumer to business. We can't all just be holding it on ledgers and jades and Trezors at home. It's that doesn't make a circular economy. And it also means that if all you're doing is that, it means you really are the bulk of your financial transactions are happening in fiat land. So we haven't really moved away, have we? You're storing some of your wealth outside the system, but you're still transacting inside of it, which still funds it and keeps it going. I honestly think
I just want to fact check you, sorry, on the last thing.
Okay.
So what she said was that she later deleted, and she's also the wife of a former Northamptonshire Conservative county councillor. Mass deportation now. Set fire to all the fucking hotels full of the bastards for all I care. ... If that makes me racist, so be it.
Yeah. So it's the thing is, yeah, that's largely. Obviously, didn't know the expletives were necessarily in there, but it's for all I care, right? That isn't. She didn't go and do it. She didn't say go do it. She just went set fire to him for all I care. So obviously it's I agree. Like you should probably get a warning on Twitter. Like back in the day, you get a warning on Twitter, get banned for 12 hours to delete that tweet. That's it.
Yeah.
Because
this is when all the kind of riots were going on about Southport, wasn't it? And like they started throwing people away for those, and then letting out a load of really dangerous prisoners to make space.
Because this is the thing about free speech, right? Like I would fight for the right for someone to be able to say that. I don't agree with her wording or necessarily agree with what she's saying, but to say that that is illegal and worth 2.5 years in prison is fucking nuts to me, and I'll fight for the right for her to say it. And we can all just go, you're done. Like what you're doing, you're just overreacting. You probably had a few wines, and you're trying to get a bit of attention. Delete, and the fact is, she even acknowledged that by deleting it and going, yeah, it's done. I think it was up for like an hour or something. I think she literally said it, got a load of backlash, and went, oh fucking hell, delete. But someone screenshotted it, and the police come and arrest her like the next day and give her 2.5 years in prison. It's nuts. Like if that was happening in Russia or China, we'd be using that as an example of an authoritarian government. But we live in the UK where we live in a democracy. We're all left-wing liberals here. Are we? If you say that and delete it after an hour and get 2.5 years in prison, are we liberal? Are we fuck? There's no freedom of speech here. So hence, yeah, that's why we're Bitcoin, right? I'm just so glad we do, because I would be freaking lost if we didn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, and on that topic, we have a big proposal, right? I love these ones. So we have a new BIP 177. And I know Dr. Evil 10% has always seen my comments on this. Because you liked, I think, one of the comments. So I want to see what Sneverlook thinks. I don't know whether you've seen this yet. So basically, we've got BIP 177. Have you seen it or not?
No, I've not seen it.
I'd love your take, because I think you're a good example, right, of someone that's in Bitcoin but not too deep. And I think they're targeting this at you. So BIP 177, right? It proposes redefining Bitcoin's base unit by making 1 Satoshi 1 Bitcoin. So at the moment, 1 Bitcoin equals 100 million Satoshis. So what they're saying is to nudge all the decimal points. So like in that Shake Shack example where it was 20,000 sats. Technically, it wasn't 20,000 sats, was it? It was 0.0002000 Bitcoin, right? So that is technically what the bill was, but we essentially kind of reimagine that and go, oh, but in Satoshi land, just say 20,000 Satoshis. So the proposal is to go, well, let's get rid of all these decimal points, and basically 1 Satoshi now equals 1 Bitcoin. So what is 1 Bitcoin? Well, 1 Bitcoin equals 100 million Satoshis. So we essentially switched the whole thing on its head. So there's never going to be a decimal place in Bitcoin again. We're always going to be starting after 0, because 1 Satoshi is the limit, right? Whereas in the land we live in right now, it's 0.00001 Bitcoin. So suddenly now, here we are down the bottom, 1 Bitcoin equals 100 million Satoshis. That is a Bitcoin now. So a Bitcoin technically doesn't exist. A Bitcoin is just 100 million Satoshis. So the whole proposal for this is to get rid of the decimals, and enhance the user experience, especially for newcomers, because you're getting rid of that unit bias. You're now talking about Satoshis. So, how everyone wants to buy 1 Bitcoin. And they go, oh, I can't afford $100,000 freaking dollars for a Bitcoin. Whereas now it's like, well, the lowest common denominator in Bitcoin now is a Satoshi, right? You can have one. You can buy 20,000 Satoshis for $20, right? So it's that great value. So this is the proposal, and just to give a bit more credence behind it, Jack Dorsey endorsed this by tweeting out the bit. So what do you think? What's your gut reaction having seen it for the first time?
No, because it was already, the Immaculate Conception made by Satoshi, but ultimately it's hard enough. And I get it. I get the principles, but it's hard enough, obviously, getting people to come to Bitcoin anyway, right? But we've been in this space for however long, and that doesn't faze me. Once you understand Bitcoin, yeah, you want to get to be a whole coiner, but yeah, just knowing that it's going to be a little bit easier to understand it through making it a sat, or one sat equals X amount of dollars. Nah, I'm good with that, thanks. Because I guess it takes us back to this, which is ultimately, all fiat will just be extinct. Because it's still off that same principle, isn't it? Trying to make it easy for people. And Jeff Booth is a great person to kind of relate to, because eventually we will just start thinking in sats. He always talks about that. So, whatever the price of a Happy Meal is, as Steak and Shake are doing right now, they'll also give a price next to it in sats, and that'll just become the norm. And then eventually the US dollar price will go, and it will just simply be thinking sats.
So you're no. And what's your reason for a no then on the bit 177?
Just because I'd still stick with the reasoning behind the denomination of like being divisible by 9 digits, as Satoshi intended it to. It was perfect as is. And we don't necessarily need to get people to understand it and make it easier for them, because Bitcoin's hard anyway, So, and it doesn't make me think, oh, okay, well, now that I can compute it in my mind a little bit easier, then I'll gravitate towards it.
Go on, Dr. Evil. You can have your 2 pence now if you want.
I just don't see the fucking point. I'm just like, oh, let's dick around this. It doesn't need changing. Let's dick around because we want adoption to go a little bit faster. It's like you're potentially pulling the rug. We don't need this. It's happening. Like, we're literally just playing about with shit which we don't need to. So, like, if you want to go and dick around, how about we make a hard fork, and then I'll go and claim that, and I'll sell it and buy more Bitcoin. And you and your shit little mates can go and play with your shitty little Bitcoin with how many Bitcoins in it, whilst I'm selling and buying more proper Bitcoin in the big boys' room.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is why Satoshi fucking, and we should just leave his code well alone, because it's one of those where you look at the benefits of it and go, oh, like it overcomes the unit bias. We literally talked about XRP being $2 before, where, oh, let's just denominate ours in Satoshis, and suddenly now we're cheaper than XRP, right? So you look at those benefits, and obviously we show the Shake Shack receipt, and they obviously denominated theirs in Satoshis, and but they're thinking outside the box there, because if they're denominated in Bitcoin, you do have to put all those decimal places in there, which looks a little bit confusing. So you've got a couple of upsides there. The downside, you go, what would the detractors say? What's the downside? The downside is you've just killed Bitcoin, because you've inflated the supply of Bitcoin by 8 decimal places. You've taken it from 21 million to 2.1 quadrillion Bitcoin. You just shoved everything all the way over. You've moved the decimal point 8 places, which, Jesus, we're all scared about the day we wake up and there's 22 million Bitcoin. Right? That kills Bitcoin because the fact there's 1 million more. We haven't created 1 million more. We've created 2.1 quadrillion more by just moving decimal place. And now essentially Bitcoin doesn't really have a place in that new denomination now because it's just
also
tax.
Like, you've still got the same value amount of money sitting in Bitcoin. You just created more Bitcoin. And it's actually, isn't that what fiat does every year?
Exactly. Yeah, and even though, technically, by moving the decimal place and having 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis instead of 21 million Bitcoin, they are still technically the same. But you have to be very technically astute to understand that point. And we're trying to get the normies in here, and the mainstream media and all our haters are going to be shoving down their throats. They've just inflated the price, or the quantity and the scarcity of Bitcoin is now done. You know how they used to say 21 million? Now it's 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis. What's next? Most even worse inflation than fiat.
Most people get the number of a million. You know, they get that. It's at the top end and the top scale to kind of compute and visualize it. Anything past that, though, you know, people obviously band around the word billion, and that alone is hard because it's 100 million. And again, when unless you've seen that visualization of the million and then the billion, it's hard to understand. Forget a quadrillion.
I know.
It's off the scale.
Yeah, it's silly, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I didn't just put this in for a joke, right? This is being seriously considered.
Oh, let them make it. Make them fucking have a little hard fork.
I really hope it doesn't get anywhere off the ground, because it is like literally this is one of those things that makes probably a 2% gain on the potential easiness of a newbie to come into Bitcoin, and then the con on the other side is total devastation. You fucking screwed up the whole project. So you go, the risk reward here is not weighing up. Like, it's just insanely imbalanced, and the people that are pushing it don't seem to see the fact that they've inflated the number of Bitcoin from 21 million to 2.1 quadrillion. They don't seem to be factored that in. They all they see is, oh, it's 20,000 Satoshis now. Isn't that easier to read instead of 0.00020,000 Bitcoin? And it's just, as we saw in this Steak and Shake example, when it is lots of decimal places, all you do is denominate in Satoshis and say 20,000. Easy. So we get that benefit without changing the code. You just do it in the user experience in the wallet. Easy.
Yes.
Easy. Like, to change the protocol, like, oh my God. Like, and this seems like Jack Dorsey is here saying this now, like supposedly supporting this protocol. It just makes you think he's CIA going, you're just trying to kill Bitcoin now. And what are you doing? Because it is literally the most retarded bit proposal that I have seen. And yeah,
do you want millions of Bitcoin?
I think people are
worthless.
I think people are misconstruing the desire for want to get adoption, and obviously this is a kind of solution to that, which is not. You know, it's an idea, but it's a bad idea.
I think the thing which is probably holding it up is just improving the Lightning network or a similar network. I think that's the next real phase which needs to be undertaken. We don't need bloody more Bitcoin.
No.
Like I say, Lightning's doing great. Like
the Lightning's doing great. It's just future proofing is what I'm on about.
Yeah,
They
because
just
obviously you can always do more. But like this bit doesn't do anything towards that, does it? It just
Yeah, that's what I mean.
No.
Like people are talking about this when it's just like I don't think this gives anything.
No.
Whereas you know, working on a Lightning network or an equivalent is something which gives more. That's
just
what we
need
for
easier
future-proofing.
easier user experiences for the masses again, because when because it will, becomes mass adoption, it won't. They won't think about it. We don't sit here and think, how does me just tapping my card or my phone on an EPOS system, how does that all work? Like, we don't care. Majority of things that go on in this world, we don't care about. And obviously, we care a lot about the way that Bitcoin works for some weird random reason.
I was
But
going to say,
the masses.
I learned about how the Visa network works. I can't remember if it was work or Bitcoin, which caused me to learn about it. About the pre-authorization and the fact that the money doesn't actually transfer for about 28 days.
Yeah.
It just puts a marker against the account. And I remember someone tried to use that argument about Lightning. It's just like you do realize how the whole financial system works.
Yeah, and it's so ancient. But ultimately, people just go about their day jobs and lives, as per normal. But so I just think it really we need to be thinking and using brain power more around user friendliness and adoption than these weird concepts.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to fuck around with something that's like putting square wheels in a car.
Yeah. Cool. Let's move on. Feeling dumb just thinking about it.
And the problem is this is Bitcoiners, right, proposing this stuff. That's why it's scary, which is why I just think it's freaking. I just round up all the people that supported this and just insta block them because they're freaking CIA assets. There's no way any real Bitcoiner supports this. Like, you're supporting this to try and break Bitcoin. You know what you're doing. It's like sneakily trying to make the supply of Bitcoin seem infinite by trying to get a usability feature through. It's a bit of a Trojan horse, I think, but we ain't fucking stupid here in Bitcoin land. We know what you're fucking doing. Okay.
Yeah.
Onto a final story, which is a nice video to finish with.
It is, yeah. It's a nice little story. It's from a TV show called Lioness. Never seen it. Only saw this little video on Twitter. Thought it was super well done. So I'll include it here.
The first sign an empire is failing is when its people question the institutions the empire was built on, the structure of government, the churches, the schools. They reject God because the emperors begin believing they are God. And the people become so rich, everyone believes they are an emperor as well. And too good to do the jobs that built the empire in the first place. So they outsource those jobs. And they open their borders to allow people desperate to do all the other jobs the other people are too rich to do. Then comes the guilt for all this wealth. But still, the empire thrives. And now everyone questions their wealth. Then they question themselves. And then they reject everything that built the empire to begin with. They destroy their own symbols, attack themselves like a cancer, attack the people who protect the empire, attack you for protecting it. Then the wolves come. And all the people who lived like emperors will know the suffering they blamed themselves for creating. And they will be slaughtered. And the new empire will rise from its ashes. And then the cycle begins again.
So there it is. So it's a pretty decent little overview, right? Of I guess it's a little bit right, Ray Dalio's fourth turning, the fall of an empire, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create bad times. The cycle just goes round and round and round. It's the slightly more detailed version of that, but I really like the fact that they go into a bit more detail about how obviously when a nation becomes very wealthy, they essentially suddenly don't want to do certain jobs. So they outsource those jobs to others. And then there's an element of guilt that ends up overcoming them. And they want to almost they don't know what to do with it. Like, do we give reparations? Do we pay more? Why have we got this wealth? It's all a little bit confusing. And fundamentally they end up turning on each other. There's a whole cult social warfare, divide and conquer. Everyone turns on each other, and it essentially leads to the collapse of that. And the people that largely were outsourced to sometimes can come through, and the wolves basically circle and pick up the pieces, and the cycle starts again. And you look at the world that we live in today, where what is the Western world? What have they done over the last 50 years? We outsourced all the jobs we didn't want to do, and that they either happen offshore or we imported offshore people inshore to do them here. And what are we currently going through right now? A load of guilt. Why do we have money and why do all these people not? And we are fighting. Is it the immigrants? Is it the government? Is it women? Is it men? Is it white people? Is it black people? Is it Asians? Everyone is just fighting around who is causing all this inequality, and everybody just feels guilty, and they either don't have enough or they have enough and feel guilty about it. And it's like, we're just living through it, aren't we? We're just living through this scenario where the collapse is imminent. It just is, isn't it?
Yep.
This is funny enough. I can't remember, I mentioned last week, I read Hidden Repression, how the IMF and World Bank sell exploitation as development, by Alex Gladstein. So one of the names, which was on Michael Saylor's webpage, and it literally breaks down what the structure is, how America got into this place, and how these countries were servicing America, and how they're locked into all these IMF loans, well, from the World Bank and IMF to structure their economy, not to provide for themselves, but to provide for America and the G8 fundamentally. And it's kind of goes into this whole story that it's basically been built. So we've been lucky enough to be born into one of the G8 countries, but we're sitting on top of all these countries being exploited by the G8. And it's insane when you read that. You go, oh, now something else makes sense. But, I'm not going to sit there and blame myself for it because I didn't do it. But I'm lucky that I was born in the country which I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all won the DNA lottery or the geography lottery by being born on the western side of the line, because you're born on the other side. You're slave labor.
These countries aren't even self-sufficient anymore. They have to import their food supplies from the G8, which is absolutely insane, whereas they could have produced it a lot cheaper, but they've been programmed in order to have an economy which basically backs these countries for cheap goods to be imported into there.
Just gonna say the best clip that I've seen though, or personally, was still that one from the show that got banned. Do you remember where she's drawing the picture?
Yeah, well, that nearly got our YouTube channel deleted. That one.
Yeah.
It was going about aliens and stuff, but it had a big element of truth in there, didn't it?
A huge element of truth.
Yeah. I came across that on Twitter again. It starts off with a little.
Did you?
It starts off with a little sperm, and it's like the second it hits the egg, the government gets excited because it's another taxable asset. Just goes on from there. And last time I freaking posted that, we nearly got this whole YouTube channel deleted. So I probably won't post that again.
Well, aren't we on 2 strikes already? So I think we're waiting for the third one, or do they expire?
I think they probably do expire, but I think it's a couple of years. So I'm pretty sure we've still got 2 strikes at the moment. So one more. That's it. We're done.
We're done. We're on Rumble with Tate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Rumble or it's Rumble, and then we're using Truth. as well.
Yeah, we're one of the
That's
podcast
the
ones as
platform.
well. So we're on Apple and Google Podcasts, but there's no videos on them, just audio.
Yeah,
Sweet.
cool. Right. Well, there we have it. Pod 171. Usual suspects back in the house. Mr. Orlin, aka the $1 trillion man. Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ. Myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution. And no surprise, no Mrs. No Show. Peace.